Hey everybody, this is Lucard, back with another video for you. Today, we're going to talk about the worst movies I've ever seen. Now, I'm not talking about so bad they're good movies. No. These are the most atrocious possible movies ever. Join me. Alright, so the first one we're going to talk about is called Curse of the Headless Horseman from 1972. Directed by John Kirkland and starring no one of note except there's a person named Ultraviolet. So basically this movie is about this guy who inherits this like Wild West theme park, and he has to turn a profit in 6 months in order to keep it. Of course, they discover a phantom horseman, kind of what they call him, and the horseman kind of goes around with this severed head and spits blood on people. And that's the entire story. There's nothing to it except for those two bits. All the characters are these like hippies, and they all come to help their friend kind of do this thing. It's real bizarre, and the dialogue is just random. I don't think there was a script except for the plot points. Basically, the acting is beyond if you even want to call it acting, is pretty atrocious. The narration is another part it's just like blah blah blah, and it's like, wait, what? And it's over like the whole entire movie. It's kind of like a bunch of college kids in the early 70s got together and were like, hey, we have a video camera, let's film some stuff. And they happened to have a Wild West set, so they were like, okay, let's do something with this. Blah. Here's a movie. But the biggest problem with this movie, it's incredibly boring and dull. You're just sitting there, just waiting for something to happen, and nothing does. It's awful. As of the recording of this video, it is available on DVD, and it is streaming. I found it on YouTube and the B-Movie TV video on demand channel on the Roku. Those are the ways to watch it if you dare. Alright, next up we have Satan's Storybook from 1989. It's an SOV anthology film. If you don't know what SOV means, it means shot on video, which is basically they got a camcorder, hit record, let's make a movie. At least that's what most of them are. So this anthology film has 2 parts. Not 3 like most, but 2. The wraparound story is basically about this woman who gets sent to hell because Satan wanted something. I don't even remember. That's how bad this thing is. The first story is about this like Richard Ramirez type killer, and he invades the home of this woman who turns out to be a witch. It's somewhat watchable. I wouldn't watch it again. It's just kind of there. The second story is about an actor who hangs himself, and then he meets a clown on the other side. It's so boring and dull. I almost fell asleep on it. That's how bad it is. The whole movie is an incoherent mess. It really is. It's just the makeup, the acting, all of it is just like overload of just bad. And I'm not talking about funny bad. This thing is not funny. It's just bad. It literally looks like I took this camera that I'm using right here and just went like, hey, do some devilly stuff. Okay, I'm gonna film it. The end. Oh, and the alternate title to this masterpiece is Satan's Flatulence. I think it would have been a better name, because that's pretty much what it is. Currently, it is available on DVD, and I've also seen it on YouTube as well. Alright, so the third movie we're going to talk about is Thanksgiving 3. Yes, Thanksgiving 3. There is no 2. There's only 1 and 3. This movie explains why there's no 2. So this is a sequel to Thanksgiving, which was a hilarious slasher spoof about a killer turkey at Thanksgiving. They had some great one-liners, and it was it was a slasher spoof, but it really was like a slasher movie, so it worked. You know, the jokes, yeah, they were stupid, but it just worked in the context of the whole thing. Anyway, this one, Thanksgiving 3, takes place years later, and Turkey, the killer turkey, is now kind of living his life. You know, he's married with kids, blah blah blah. Anyway, he discovers that there is a copy of Thanksgiving 2 running around, and Thanksgiving 2 is supposedly the worst movie of all time. So he decides to go on a journey to get this movie so he can destroy it. Now, this movie's completely not like the original at all, besides Turkey with his one-liners. However, the one-liners in this movie are just so painful. And just, the script is abysmal. It's so bad. And 90% of this movie is puppets. Which, okay, you know, I know it can be done well. I've seen Meet the Feebles. Meet the Feebles is fantastic. It's a crazy movie, but I love it. This movie is if Meet the Feebles went the route of Leprechaun in Space. Just no. No, this is not necessary. This movie was partially funded by Kickstarter, which I would be pissed if my money went to this. Ugh. You know, Dark Crystal, this is not. Although I do find it rather ironic that they're searching for the worst movie of all time, when this is pretty much one of them. Thanksgiving 3 is currently available on DVD and is streaming for free on the Roku channel, on Vudu, and Pluto TV. Alright, so the next one we're going to talk about today is Frankenstein 80 from 1972. This film is about a mad scientist who basically creates a Frankenstein monster, and he calls him Mosaic or Mosaico. And Mosaico basically gets a testicle transplant, and he hunts down and kills all the beautiful women in the town. Now I know this sounds like it could be fun. It is not. It's so incredibly dull. That's the number one sin with these movies. If it's bad, it's one thing, but when it's so dull and just so hard to get through, it's not worth it. Anyway, the Frankenstein monster is played by Zero Papas, who was a Greek wrestler back in the day. So yeah, Frankenstein just kind of runs around, raping and pillaging throughout the town. And the dubbing is pretty horrible on this movie. One of the wonderful lines in this movie is the prostitute telling the monster, and I quote, "You may have a limp when you walk, but I bet you don't have one in bed." That's the wonderful dialogue you can expect from Frankenstein 80. And it is available on DVD. It's usually available on YouTube. Also on the Raygun channel on the Roku. But if you really want an incredibly slow, dull, stupid Frankenstein movie, go for it. All right, number 5, Hollywood's New Blood from 1988. All right, so basically the story is that a family was killed on the set of a movie, and they come back to get revenge on the new people that are making a movie. This movie is so incredibly boring and dull. You want to go to sleep? Put this movie on. That's how incredibly slow and boring this is. It's so... I've tried to watch this thing like 3 times. I eventually got through it, but because I do that to myself, but it's atrocious. So everything about this movie is atrocious. The acting, the special effects, the gore, the editing, everything. And then the movie has nerve for the last, I think it's the last 8 to 10 minutes of the movie, is an entire recap of the entire movie. Okay, I know padding, and we're going to talk about some padding later, but come on. The end of your movie is an entire recap. What were you thinking? I don't understand. So the next one we're going to talk about is called Rorschach from 2015. Rorschach is basically an episode of Ghost Hunters, except nothing happens at all. They're literally sitting around waiting for something to happen, and it's about as exciting as this part of the video. So basically Rorschach is a paranormal investigation movie shot in found footage style, kind of like all the paranormal shows that are out right now, which I do like some of those. Some of them are quite entertaining, but this movie is not. It is again incredibly dull and boring, and literally nothing happens. It's like if I filmed the wall and watching paint dry. That's this movie. For 70 minutes, you're sitting there waiting for something to happen, or at least a good ending or something. And basically, it just ends. No resolution, no nothing. I'm not the biggest found footage fan to begin with, and this movie really does not give a good case for me to like any. All right, so the next 3 movies we're going to talk about are all more mainstream movies, because I wanted to throw a couple of those in there. The Disappointments Room, the most aptly named movie I've ever heard in my life. Again, nothing happens. This movie should not have been labeled a horror movie whatsoever. This movie should have been a drama, and the script should have been better. Kate Beckinsale did what she could. There's literally not one scare in this film. Now you're gonna have a horror movie. You'd think that it'd be something frightening or something of that nature. None. Zero. Zero. One reviewer kind of said it best. Kate Beckinsale walks around for 90 minutes staring at things. And that's the plot of the movie. All right, the next one we're going to talk about is The Devil Inside from 2012. Now this movie is kind of your typical possession movie, which can be good. They went the found footage route again with this movie, which also can be done well. The first Last Exorcism movie was sort of like that, but that movie was great. This movie, again, tedious and boring. So boring. So the problem with this movie is that nothing stands out. It's so generic. It's such a generic exorcism movie. It's not even as interesting as The Exorcist 2, which I actually kind of liked as a drama, not as a horror movie. But anyway, I digress. The only good parts of this movie were given away in the trailer for it. So if you want to watch the good version of this movie, just watch the trailer and you've got it. The cardinal sin with this movie, though, is the ending. So they're in a car. Oh, spoiler alert, by the way. They're in the car. They have the possessed girl in the car. They're driving, and the girl that is possessed transfers the demon into the guy that's driving the car, and the car crashes. Everybody dies. The end. But not the end, because the actual end of the after that happens, the actual end of the movie comes on the screen. To find out more, go to this website, and it's a website for the movie. No. Just no. All right, and the last of our mainstream movies that we're going to talk about today, It's Pat, the movie from 1994. It's Pat started as a Saturday Night Live skit with Julia Sweeney, who I love. Julia Sweeney. She's great. She's funny. She's talented. Very underrated. However, the Pat character is decent in small doses. And when I mean small doses, I mean the little skit. It can't handle more than that. And this movie proves it. It's a one-note joke told over and over and over again for 90 minutes. The whole thing is that we don't know the gender of Pat. Is Pat male? Is Pat female? We don't know. And this entire movie is like a string of Pat skits on SNL, but none of them are funny. One of the problems with this movie is they changed Pat's character to an obnoxious, irritating, unlikable character. You don't want to have your main protagonist the most unlikable character in the movie. At least have, or if you do, at least have her change, or him change, whatever. At least have the character change to likable. This movie doesn't do that. And it's so cringy. The whole movie's so cringy. This was at a time when they were doing all those Saturday Night Live movies. A couple of them were decent, but most of them were just really bad. And fun fact, supposedly Quentin Tarantino did some rewrites on this. So if anything of his made it in there, I mean, one, you can't tell. And it's just, No, and I'm glad he doesn't have technically, officially have his name attached to this, because it's bad. All right, now we're headed to the big three. These are the worst of the worst. No kidding. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is 1989's Things. Things is about an impotent husband really wanting to be a father. So he gets his wife experimented on, and the result is the birth of these murderous things. Now, this, out of all the movies that I'm listing today, this is the only one that I would recommend for riff fodder. A group of people watching this one would be really fun. This one, I can't say it's so bad it's good, because it's pretty bad. It's pretty damn bad. But there is a certain charm to it. So out of all these 13 movies that I am talking about today, this is kind of the only one that I would sort of recommend watching if you like bad movies, because it's up there. The whole movie's shot kind of like it's a home video, and there's these like incoherent ramblings and just the most ridiculous dialogue you can possibly that you can't even imagine, because brains don't work that way. It sounds like the whole movie was dubbed in post. Supposedly it wasn't, according to the director. The editing of certain parts it's extremely choppy, and it's the music the music is so bizarre throughout the entire movie that you just like, wait, what? And the other part that's kind of funny is that in the middle of all the chaos and everything, they go to these random newscasts. And the newscaster is I believe she was a porn star or something like that. Yeah, it's one of those movies. It's kind of so random and kind of stupidly brilliant in a weird way, but it's really bad, but it's fun. So Things is available on DVD, and right now is also streaming on Tubi. All right, now this next movie is the most padded thing I've ever seen in my life. Next up, we have Camp Blood 5 from 2016. I'm also going to lump in Camp Blood 4, also from 2016, because they actually go together. They filmed them all at once and separated it into two different movies. Well, movies. Basically, the Camp Blood movies are about this killer clown. It's basically a killer clown version of Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th series. Except no budget whatsoever. The gore is usually awful. The acting is, I mean, like grade school level acting. If that. I mean, I think it's even worse than that. Anyway, in Camp Blood 4 and 5, they use so much stock footage from the previous Camp Blood movies. The first 3 Camp Blood movies are somewhat watchable. Yeah, they're bad. They're all bad. The Camp Blood movies are insanely awful. However, the first 3 are sort of watchable. Then they go and do this. So basically, it's a new character. It's not in any of the other ones. And you follow her throughout her day. She goes shopping. She talks on the phone. She talks to her mother. She also primps herself. She does her hair. She takes a shower. And we see all of this in real time. It's the most tedious movie you'll ever see. Now, from all the clips from the previous movie thrown in between these two movies, okay, so total runtime of these two movies together is a little over 2 hours, like 2 hours and 10 minutes, I believe, or 2 hours and 15. Of the 2 hours and 15 minutes, I would say maybe a half an hour of new material. That's not from a previous movie. Think about that for a second. How much did you actually film? Did you just go around for a day? Hey, let's go in the woods. I'll film a few things. That's okay. I can pad it out. I can just use footage from the first 3 movies. It's no big deal. Dude, come on. Another problem with this movie is the cinematography. It's so dark in places that you honestly can't see what's happening. And the editing, there's scenes where Raven, which is the main character, she's running away, and the clown is going after her. So you see her running away, and then you see the clown, and then you see her running away, and then you see the clown, and then you get it over and over, repetitive, and it's painful. It's painful to watch. And again, the characters are not likable. I don't care about these people. 4 and 5, Camp Blood 4 and 5 were made for a quick buck. Just plain and simple. And the kicker, there are now 11 Camp Blood movies on the market. 11. They're all bad. They're all awful. But 4 and 5 really take the cake. The last one we're going to talk about is without a doubt the worst thing I've ever seen with my eyeballs. This movie is called Schizophrenic, the Whoremangler from 1997. So basically this movie is about this creepo scumbag who goes insane and starts killing people. I mean, that's basically the plot. And so you're like, okay, this can't be that bad. This is the most annoying character I've ever seen put on film. He dances around naked for no reason whatsoever. He has this screaming fits. He has these screaming fits throughout the movie. And it's like, oh! And it's like, bro, all right, just stop. So basically, this movie is about this guy named Harry who starts going insane. And he imagines his ventriloquist dummy telling him basically to go on a killing spree. So it's him just going around killing all these whores, as he says in the movie. And it's so the whole movie is so amateurish. It's literally like a 12-year-old got a camera, and first day he was like, "Hey, let's go make a slasher flick, or let's go make a killer flick." And that's basically what this movie is. I mean, the guy that plays him, John Caspro, really does kind of go for it. He doesn't let anything go. He just in your face. And you know, I guess it works for this, but this movie, it keeps building up and up to the point where you just don't want to watch it anymore because it's too much. And I didn't enjoy anything about this movie. It's literally the worst thing I've ever seen. So please tell me, what are some of the worst movies you've ever seen? Leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to have a discussion with you. I've seen thousands upon thousands of movies. So far, these are the ones that I personally consider the worst that I've ever seen. All right, so you guys take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.